Hey guys, so once you finish the practice, let's move on and take that idea and actually use it to solve a missing piece of a triangle. So sometimes when we're only given one angle and one side of a right angle triangle, and you're asked to find the missing side, what we can use is use an acronym called SOHCAHTOA to find the missing angle or side. So SOHCAHTOA is just an acronym. And that acronym just helps us remember that depending on the pieces I should use, I should be using this button. So sine is a comparison between the opposite that we have here, and the hypotenuse. So sine is O divided by H. So when you put that together, it makes a sound so. So in SOHCAHTOA, the O stands for the opposite, the H stands for hypotenuse. And therefore, sine is a combination of the two. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And with the same idea, cosine refers to the adjacent side and the hypotenuse side. So cosine refers to A divided by H. So we have the sound of ka. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent now is comparing the opposite side compared to the adjacent side. So when you put those together, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So in TOA, it's tangent opposite over adjacent. So that's how when we combine these three together, the acronyms SOHCAHTOA just helps us easily remember that depending on what information is provided and what you want to find, you would use either sine if it's opposite the hypotenuse, you would use cosine if it's adjacent to hypotenuse, or you use tangent if you have the opposite and the adjacent. All right, so let's move on to taking that idea and then solving a piece of a triangle. To find a side, using the given angle, first label the sides as opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse as a practice that we did previously. So opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So let's do that on the very first question right away. So my opposite, make sure you know where to look. If I tell you the angle here is 26, then that angle right here is referring to theta. That's my perspective. That's where I should be comparing every side to. So the opposite side is the one diagonally across. That's the opposite. Then we have the adjacent. The adjacent is next to. So now make sure you know, is it the 16 or is it the x? And it is going to be the letter x side because the 16 is really referring to the hypotenuse. Awesome. So that's step number one. Label your triangles. After you label your triangles, tell me what information you have and what you want to find. Not everything there is going to be useful. So I have the hypotenuse. Okay. I have the adjacent. All right. So if you focus on the letters, I have the letters A and H. So when we say the word SOHCAHTOA, which of the three part of the acronym has the letters A and H in it? Well, let's write that out. It would be cosine. So cosine is the one that I have to use. If I use sine instead of or use tangent instead, it would not be correct because we would not be comparing the right sides. So we write down the formula: cosine of theta equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Here we go. Now, with our formula down, you can now put the numbers where they belong. So we have cosine here what is our theta? What is our angle in the question? Our angle is given to being 26. So 26 goes there. What's my adjacent? I don't know what it is. That's what I'm trying to find. So I'm going to use x as a placeholder, divided by my hypotenuse, which I do know as 16. So that is the formula with the numbers put in there. After this, you guys can think back to how to cross multiply to get your answer of x. You're going to multiply the diagonals across, and then you're going to divide after that. So let's take my red. I'm going to multiply this, draw this over a 1, so it makes it look easier to see. I'm multiplying this 1 by x, and I'm multiplying this 16 by cos. So my answer, x, is going to be 16 multiplied by the cosine of 26. Now I'm going to show you guys how to use your calculator now. So with your phones out on the calculator, you're going to actually type all of this in backwards. You're going to actually start from, I'll show you back the screen, the 16th side going towards the left. Sorry, the 26th side going to the left. So with your calculator, for those who have an iPhone, we'll type in 26 first, and then hit cosine, and then you would multiply by 16. So the answer is 14.38. So 14.38. And now let's round this to the nearest tenth, according to the question. And so we see here, 10th is a 3, and the 8 beside it is going to bump that up. So it's 14.4. Done. Let's try question number 2, and 2b, and repeat the same process. Step number 1, label your sides. Here is my angle. Here is my theta. That's my perspective. I should be looking at my triangle. And based on that perspective, I can label the sides of this triangle using the words opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So let's start with the opposite first. So this right here must be the opposite. X is my opposite now. My adjacent is going to be 12, because this side over here, the diagonal, is actually the hypotenuse. All right, so you have labeled your triangle. After labeling your triangle, please take your information. Oops, sorry. I'll make this a little smaller. Just move that down somewhere else. Okay. Now let's just think about what we have and what we don't have. We have our adjacent, but we want to find our opposite. So which of the three does link the opposite and adjacent? Is it sine, cosine, or tangent? Which one has letters O and A? Well, tangent has letters O and A, so tangent is the one that we should be using. So then we write down the formula one more time. Tangent theta is, in the formula sheet, O divided by A. So let's fill in our pieces now. What is my angle in the question? My angle, or theta, is 48. And my opposite is x. But my adjacent is 12. There you go. Set it up. Label your triangle. Pick the correct one. Now put in the numbers, and now lastly cross multiply to get the answer. Multiply 12 and tangent 48, 1 and x. So that the answer x is going to be 12 times tangent of 48. And then work backwards to get the answer with your calculator. So, calculator, clear, 48 10 multiplied by 12 is 13.3 of 2. So the answer is 13.32, and after rounding, you get 13.3. You are done. All right, pretty easy, right? Label your triangle, and then choose the correct formula, cross multiply to get the answer. So let's do that one last time. Here's my angle, theta. So therefore, 9 is going to be my opposite, and x is going to have to be my hypotenuse because it's the diagonal from the 90 degree. Which one would link the opposite and hypotenuse together? That would have to be sine. So sine theta equals to opposite over hypotenuse. And now let's fill in the numbers one last time. So we fill in the numbers. Sine of my angle is 55 degrees. My opposite is 9. And then my hypotenuse is x. All right. So what do you notice about this one that's slightly different than the other one? Is that this one has the x on the bottom. You're still going to do the same thing, cross multiply and divide to get your answer. But this time, the dividing step is very, very important. So let's cross multiply first. So what happens when you multiply the x with sine of 55? We would get number x and then sine of 55. And then what happens when you multiply 1 and 9? Well, you get 9. All right, so that's the cross multiplication step, the same as we done before. But it's very important now that we do the following step, that after we cross multiply, we don't forget to divide. So we're going to divide both sides by sine of 55. Right. So our answer would be when we type in 9 divided by sine of 55. So this is going to be a little tricky to type in. So open your calculator. 9 divided by, now has the backwards in it, 55 sine. Now hit enter. So the answer is 10.98. And so if we round that properly to nearest tenth, that 8 will make that 9 go up. And so the answer would be then 11.0. There we have it. So, boys and girls, please do practice this for the rest of this day and rest of the week, is to get some work into selecting the correct formula, labeling your sides, and then cross multiplying and dividing to solve for your final solution for each missing piece. So I would like you guys to finish up and work on the rest of this practice, and then I'll probably check up on you guys later this week. All right. If you have any kind of questions, don't feel free to contact me. I'll be readily available.